uh, sound that a dog makes, or you can think of what's on a tree. It's the same thing.
Candy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peppermint bark.
Cat link bark.
So, yeah, sure. If I say blue, you can think of Richard Dusty's shirt, or you can say, man, I'm really feeling blue today. If I say cobbler, most of you are going to think peach, probably. But if you are very, very old, you might think of someone who fixes shoes, because that's called a cobbler. You think of pride. We read of pride in the Bible, but when we think of pride, we all don't always think of a group of lions, but which is also kind of pride. Today, we're going to talk about a word that has multiple meanings, and drilling down on the intended meaning of this word in the proper context has huge implications for us as a church family. And that word is member. Member. And what all that means when we say member. So I want to draw your attention to Romans chapter 12. And I want us to spend maybe the next 10 minutes or so thinking through verses 4 through 13. Could I have somebody just read that whole thing for us? Romans chapter 12, verses 4 through 13. All right, Jack, go ahead. Thank you. Yeah, I know it starts in the middle of a paragraph.
Okay. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality.
I'm going to go ahead and finish the chapter for you. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Don't repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. And if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Don't take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy's hungry, feed him. And if he's thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing so, you will heap burning coals on his head. That doesn't mean what we sometimes think, but we'll talk about that another day. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. All right. We're going to drill down first on this section around verses 4 and 5 that talks about member. Okay. How many of you are members of some type of club, society, guild, something like that? Okay. What are some of, if you're going to be a member of an organization, what are some basic necessities that are consistent in that? Go ahead.
Got to pay money.
All right. Usually you got to pay money. All right. All right. Go ahead.
Usually you have to contribute something besides money.
Okay. Yeah. Usually you got to give a little of yourself. Okay.
Secret handshake.
Yeah. By the way, have y'all seen, because this used to happen in basketball all the time, still does. Now it happens in baseball. You see these guys in the dugout And it's like they've got 25 different players, and they can, ooh, talk about elaborate, how they remember. No, Kim.
There's usually a common goal or a common theme.
Okay, so you're,
Because you've got a reason to be a club for a specific reason, I guess.
okay, so you're going to pay in, you're going to give of yourself, you're headed in a direction. You may have, now, what he said about secret handshake, a lot of organizations have insider language, okay? Band has insider language, okay? Band geeks, God bless them. Here's one for you for band geek. Never be flat, sometimes be sharp, always be natural.
And we have a phrase called church speak.
Yeah, sure, insider language, okay? All right, sure. Now, go ahead.
There's always a set of rules or bylaws that you're supposed to follow as a part of that membership.
Okay, there's a governance. Okay, good. There's a governance. All right, now. When we talk about being members in Romans 12, there's something different about this. Okay? Because I want you to watch this text, and let's stay in the text. Because in this passage, he's not talking about being a member of, he's not talking about being a member of an organization. He's talking about being members of each other. You're not members of a thing, you're members of a person, or you're members of a people. You belong to a people. You have a commitment to a people. And that is a radically different paradigm, thank you, John Nickens, than thinking of being a member of a organization. Now, does the church have organization? Sure it does. It has leadership and all that. But when Paul is talking here, he's saying, I'm a member of Richard, and Richard's a member of me. I'm a member of Carolyn, and Carolyn's a member of me. There's a family element to that. There's a connected element to that. And there's an obligatory element to that. Because if I'm a member of an organization, as we pointed out earlier, there's some type of commitment to that organization. If I'm a member of one, I have some chosen obligation to one, because I'm a member of him and he's a member of me. We belong. We have a whole ministry belonging to each other for that reason. Okay? It's about investing in each other. It's about lifting each other. It's about supporting each other. And it's about knowing that I belong to Larry and I belong to Joan. And they belong to me. Now, if you will look at verses 9 through 13, there's where the rubber meets the road. Because this is how you belong to each other. So let's spend the next 5 to 6 minutes just going back and forth about what belonging to each other really means based on this part of the passage. Tell me what you see.
Well, love is obviously involved. It's the first thing mentioned.
All right. Love is right there in verse 9, and it's primary for all sorts of reasons that we can think. And he says, love must be what?
Sincere,
Ooh. What does that imply?
not fake.
Genuineness.
Yeah, there is such a thing as fake love. That's called boyfriends and girlfriends in their teenage years. A sincere love. The literal here means love without a mask. You've been involved in relationships before that were about posturing. And who has the upper hand in this dynamic? Okay? Sincere love, that's not it. You reach into someone's life and you walk with them. You don't pull the Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar, telling them everything that's wrong with them. Go read Job. You don't do that, but you walk beside someone in their joys and you walk beside someone in their difficulties. That is a very sincere love. Now here's why this matters. I'm not going to be loved genuinely unless people really know who I am. Because if I'm projecting an image, the person who ostensibly loves me is loving that image. They're not really loving me. So letting love be sincere is a big, big deal. What else do you see? Yeah.
Active commitment to one another.
Okay. Lace through this. Okay. Somebody contrast for me active commitment versus passive commitment. Give me some examples of either one, active commitment or passive commitment. Yeah.
You know someone's hurting and you don't reach out to them unless they reach out to you, that would be passive.
Okay.
Active would be, I know they're hurting and I'm going to reach out to them, hopefully in a manner that they would find appreciative.
Okay. Excellent.
Mike?
Excellent. Go.
You know, some people read the book of James and practice it
Okay.
and realize that love has two sides to it.
Okay.
I mean, I could walk up to somebody in the street and say, hey, I love you.
Sure.
But if I haven't done anything and been a part of that person's life, it's a cold love.
Absolutely. Cold. That's a good phrase. Cold love is just words. Okay. Sue.
A good example that comes to my mind is a Good Samaritan, that seeing the person on the street and helped him out.
Okay.
So that would be genuine love, whereas the other ones just kept on going.
Okay. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, don't forget it's the religious people that didn't have time for him. Okay. That one ought to smack us every time we read it.
Right.
Keep us on our guard. Okay.
I might add, I guess, active commitment requires an effort.
Okay.
Passive commitment can be, that's what I'm looking for, docile almost. You know,
Sure.
Thought, just in thought.
I can go home and feel something deeply and never do a thing. So versus docile, that's a good breakdown. All right, Troy, and then Larry.
I just think love is kind of like faith. It's shown through action.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Larry.
I'm wondering how much the two words passive and commitment can actually go together.
Ooh.
Because to be committed to something means that you're engaged and involved, and to be passive means you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. So they really don't even align, do they?
Yeah.
No, good point. Good point. All right. So we've got this love that is sincere. We've got this investment. The word he uses in this text, devoted to each other, which means that's a Philadelphia type of love. We've got honoring each other in this text, literally outdoing each other and giving honor, almost like it's a contest. We're going to outdo each other in making others look good. Zeal, not manufactured. All right. It's easy to motivational speaker. Get fired up, line. Not manufactured, but genuine. By their nature, I'm gonna come right back to you, Nate, Larry. By their nature, this whole members of each other has a commonality of hope. And you see that mentioned in this passage, the certainty based on God's promises. Larry, go ahead, and then I'm gonna come back to something else.
I wanted to just bring something up that's in the preceding verses. It's actually mentioned twice. And when we've got something that's mentioned twice in such a short period of time, I imagine there's probably some significance to that. Verse 3, he ends that little statement there, as God has allotted to each a measure of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And then in verse 6, similarly, he says, according to the proportion of his faith.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that initially that God has allotted to each of us a particular measure of faith. And the challenge comes in is that we oftentimes think that we should be doing more or doing differently or whatever it is. And rather we're kind of focused on what everybody else is doing or not doing in some cases, rather than trying to find out what is the faith that God has given to me.
No one else has your bag.
Right.
Okay. You might hear that again today, by the way.
And we often compare ourselves to other people.
Yeah, because my bag's got Auburn on it and it's better looking than anybody else's bag. No, I didn't really say that.
Didn't think you did.
But that's such a salient point because, man, I wish I could, honest to goodness, I wish I could preach like Jeff Walling. I really do. Can't. I don't. I'd love to preach like Rick Ashley. I don't. I preach like Mike Johnson. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's okay. But we all have something that's allotted uniquely to us. He mentions patience in this passage. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't bail out. Okay. Through tough times that deep connections are made. There are bonds in this church that cannot be broken because of what you did together the last 7 or 8 years. Good time, bad times. For those of you that were here the whole time, you got bonds that nobody can come break. Because you went through it together. We've got a devotion to prayer mentioned in this passage. Each one of these is worthy of its own sermon. We've got the word hospitality, which means the active pursuit of strangers, which is certainly worthy of its own sermon, the active pursuit of strangers. I would land it with this. Whether or not these things in Romans chapter 12, especially verses 9 through the end of the chapter, whether or not that describes the Mandarin family depends on me. And it depends on you. And it depends on all of us. That's a little bit about what belonging to each other is all about. Obviously, we could spend weeks just on this topic. But I want us to get a little bit more now into the pragmatic part of this and bring Joey into the conversation. And I'm glad to have you with us this morning. I'm going to get another chair because I feel like I'm sitting above the freight here and I'd rather not. So actually, do you want a stool or am I taking a chair?
I'll take a stool.
All right.
Makes it easier on you.
All right. Everybody say hello to Joey. Hi, Joey.
Good morning.
Joey works at the Loop, and for your efforts this morning, you're all getting free lunch for him here. Actually, I want Joey to keep his job, so we're doing that. Joey, there are people in this room that have varying levels of knowing who you are. So let's talk about you first.
All right, I'm Joey Sykes. I have up here with me my lovely wife, Megan. She's up here intentionally because of all of the things that we accomplished. She's done 95% of the work. So
every wife in the room has nodded their head.
Very, very much a part of this ministry. But I've known Megan for 11 years. I've been a member of Mandarin for 7, made the connection through her. I've always been in the service industry. It's kind of what I've done with my entire life. So it was a very natural fit for me to kind of slide into a role where I get to serve. And I've always been in the hospitality industry. And I can draw a bunch of connections between hospitality and fellowship. It's creating for me opportunities for people to come together and enjoy each other's company. So it's been a very natural transition. The last couple of years have been unnatural.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, especially the whole pandemic element.
Yeah, as everybody knows, it's made the whole act of coming together very, very different, if nothing else. We've had to look outside the box. We've had to come up with ways to incorporate people through various means, Zoom and phone calls and texts, and a lot of different ways that we hadn't necessarily had to explore before. But it's been good. It's caused us to evolve to an extent and to open our eyes to new ways of gathering together. Now that we seem to be on the backside of that a little bit, it's encouraging that now we have more freedom to come up with more creative ways, or less creative ways, if you will, to just get together. And so we've got a lot of different ideas for this year and what the future, on how to kind of break the ice and get back into that. So.
All right, I'm gonna break this into kind of 2 parts. So tell us, the church next week will get a spreadsheet and they'll see a door and these things go on in the door and belong. So tell us first about some of the things that happen in your ministry, and then we'll get more into specific things that are coming in the weeks and months ahead.
Gotcha. Well, like I said, my goal in this role is just to help facilitate any gathering that we have and do whatever I can do to make sure that that is a fun time for everybody. So that's how I view it. As far as, say one more time.
Yeah, just some of the things that belonging entails.
I mean, belonging in itself is that. It's just being a part of a group together. So looking for ways to make that easy and make that fun for everybody is
okay.
What my objective is.
All right, so we've got, I know, one specific thing coming up real soon. So why don't we talk about that, and then we'll get into some of the other things coming later.
It would have been yesterday. We had a bonfire planned. Weather didn't really cooperate. It would have, as it turns out, been fairly nice yesterday afternoon, but the grounds would have been pretty soaked. So we decided to move that till next week, but we've got a bonfire coming up this weekend where we'll get out, roast some hot dogs, some marshmallows, a little devotional, a little bit of fellowship, maybe some yard games, those types of things. And so that's the first kind of icebreaker that we've got to get everybody back together and just start the process of, hanging out again. So
I'm gonna try not to put you on the spot too much. Are we ready to talk about Zoom stuff yet?
Sure.
All right, let's talk about that for a minute, because that's something we haven't introduced to the church family yet. We've got something ready to send out to you about it, but now you can hear directly about it.
So as we said, we have to think outside the box and kind of come up with ways that we can incorporate everybody, whatever, regardless of your comfort level when it comes to being in a room or having a conversation with somebody. We want to introduce a concept called Zoom Me for Coffee, where a lot of people are in the habits of meeting for coffee or breakfast Saturday mornings, something to that effect. We want to extend that to those who aren't able or as comfortable to meet face to face. And so we want to utilize the technology that we have and the different ways that we have to connect those who are at home and who can't make it to a service or to a Starbucks, and find a way to still deliberately contact and have conversation is what it's really about. It's just open up a dialogue and invite somebody to just share what's going on in their lives. And so utilizing either Zoom or FaceTime or Duo or any of the other means that you can have a face-to-face connection over a mobile device or a computer. We want to take and find a group of people who are looking for that and a group of people who are willing to do that and put them together in somewhat of an organized fashion. So the idea is Zoom me for coffee. Looking for anybody who would be interested to take 20 minutes out of their Saturday morning and commit it actively to getting in touch with somebody and sort of forming a relationship, if you will, or just seeing where it goes from there. So that's one thing that we've got coming up.
And the need for that is immediate. So if that's something that intrigues you, Joey or Megan, either one would love to talk to you about that today. And this can be a commitment that you could make based on your availability. So if that's something you could do once every 2 weeks, that'd be great. If it's something you can do once a month, to what extent you have the availability to do this, you can pour in and you can really bless. Most of you are aware that we are a pretty mature church age demographic wise. And the number of people who are challenged to get out is and will continue to be a growing number in our church family, and to bring honor and to help those who have a little harder time getting out still feel connected would be a really big deal. I'll testify about this briefly before I set Joey up for something else. When the pandemic first hit, one of the big vacuums that I was honestly fearful would not be able to continue was our Tuesday morning fellowship, because that's an older group that's the most physically vulnerable in our church, and gathering and together it just wasn't logical. Thankful for Zoom and thankful for what was a time that was primarily in person has grown to be something incredibly powerful, because the folks that could be there every other week, once out of 3 weeks, they can be here every week now because it's right in front of you. And Irvine and Betty are a consistent presence in that, and Cheryl and Jack and Maureen. I think any of them could tell you that that FaceTime on a Tuesday morning can be incredibly rich, valuable. And for some of you to have that opportunity one-on-one with somebody, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever, could be a great blessing. So, all right, I got a little preachery. Tell us about some of the other things that are coming up.
So we are currently meeting. I'm meeting with Juan and Ms. Kim. We're wanting to establish more of a routine, consistent opportunities to get together. So we're looking for ways to encourage specific groups of people who have common interests or demographics or age groups or whatever, to have convenient opportunities to get together. And so over the next 12 months, we've got a series of events that we'll be planning, not necessarily congregation-wide, just small groups, 10, 20 people, however many feel compelled to attend. But we want to create a lot more of these opportunities to make getting together outside of these four walls a lot easier and more convenient and fun. So we've got a series of events coming up that we don't have dates, don't necessarily have the specifics yet, but those are in the works. We are actively working on starting the men's ministry back up, getting together. So Troy has a men's breakfast that's coming up.
It was Jim's idea.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim. So we will be having getting back together for men's breakfast coming up soon. So
Early May, right? Early May.
May 7th.
May 7th.
May
May
7th.
7th. It's the first one we've had in a long time, and I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. So We have Easter.
Yes, there's going to be Easter this
There
year.
is going to be Easter. It was not canceled.
Yeah, go ahead and tell them what we're,
We'll be doing a breakfast again for Easter.
That will be for everybody.
Yes, so that one, we would love to see everybody. And so clear your schedule, set your clocks back. But we'll definitely be up here 9 o'clock, ready to eat and ready to have a little bit of an celebration, if you will.
yeah, teachers and mamas with little kiddos usually enjoy breakfast being here on Easter Sunday. So 9 o'clock in here, and hope you'll enjoy that. So we've got Easter pancake breakfast coming up. We've got a bonfire coming up this Saturday. We've got a men's breakfast coming up May the 7th. I'll tell you something just on my end and for Mike Bennett's benefit, because some of you may have this question. Small groups kind of has a double dynamic of the belonging to each other and also the discipleship element. So there's kind of a dual thing with that. I want you to know, if you've been wondering about small groups, right before school gets out this year, you'll get a survey of, I'd really like to be in this kind of group. I'd like to be in this kind of group. I can do Sunday. I can't do Sunday. I'm willing to host a group in my house for the next 23 years. I mean, and then Mike and we'll work through that during the summer, and we'll go full launch this fall. Now, we're not saying that you can't meet in your home and study the Bible until the church authorizes it, okay? By all means, anything you can do on your own is a wonderful thing, but we'll be ready to do full-scale launch groups-wise this fall.
You're doing an Easter egg hunt for the kids, too, are you not?
We will have something after the service.
Yeah, Miss Lori's driving the bus on that.
Okay, the other suggestion I might make, maybe an email out to the congregation asking for suggestions too. There may be some people in here with some thoughts of things they've done in the past that.
Right. We want to do kind of a combination of that. I want a physical suggestion box where if you've got an idea that you want to see happen, you can drop it in. And also anytime anybody has anything that they'd love to see happen or has an idea or a seed that they want to plant, just call me or email me.
We have a group of seniors, for anybody that wants to admit that they're a senior, that meets every Monday, Cracker Barrel at 11:30.
Oh, yeah?
And we're small,
Yes, ma'am.
but if any of you have time to come to Cracker Barrel on Monday morning,
You know,
we'd be delighted to have you.
when she says Cracker Barrel, it makes those of us that don't think of themselves as seniors say, man.
Well, you're almost.
Yeah.
Go ahead and practice.
Chicken and dumplings.
Senior.
I like the way you put that. I'm practicing.
Right.
Which Cracker Barrel?
Which Cracker?
Orange Park.
Yes, at Orange Park.
Orange Park, 11:30 on Mondays. There we go.
Looks like you got
Party.
a room eager to talk to. You got Troy and Kim.
All right, Troy.
Yeah, I wanted to put a plug in here. Last week when we talked about evangelism and how evangelism intertwines with all the other ministries, it intertwines perfectly with fellowship, because most all of the fellowship activities that we do, they're perfect for bringing visitors to. And I would encourage everyone to do just that, because that's a perfect way for people to see what we're about, who we are, and help them to see Jesus in us.
I really appreciate you saying that, because it's hard in that room. People get a feel for us, but they don't get a feel for us personally, because the nature of worship is we're kind of staring at the back of each other's heads for an hour. So you get a certain feel for a family in worship, but you get a really good feel face to face, looking across from you. I really appreciate you saying that. Kim.
I was just, when Carolyn mentioned about seniors, I was just kind of wondering where does the senior line kind of start at, that's all.
It's about 5 years older than wherever you are.
One of my great joys of my teenage years was picking up my grandmother, and she had two really good friends in our church, and we affectionately called them the Golden Girls. They were all three in their early 80s, and it was a hoot to pick them up and transport them different places. And to this day, I remember my grandmother and those two ladies talking about all the old people that lived around them. I just thought that was so funny to me, but I understand. Okay, what other questions do you have for Joey? We're right up against, consider this open dialogue. Megan, very important question. Did Joey remember everything?
I think so.
Is it all right? All right. Belonging to obviously is an open dialogue. I like the idea for suggestions. Let's go ahead and pray out. Do you remember what's next week, Mike? I don't have my phone in front of me.
The combination of a door and grounds.
All right, so I'll be a tag team with Jerry Melton and Rolando next week. So, all right, let's pray out. Lord, you have called us in your word to belong to each other. So, Father, help us by your might and by your power and by your glory to make the effort to make that happen so that you can get all the praise for it. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, thank y'all, everybody. Y'all express your appreciation to Joey and Megan. Joey is our deacon, works with involvement.
Megan,
Yes.
we really appreciate it.